Hi, I'm Dawn and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Tonight is all about thrifting and I'm going to tell you a couple of things I do when I'm out thrifting. Number one, if possible, view the items that are hard to see from the back side of the shelf. You may see items that were hidden from sight when viewing the shelf from the front. Number two, shop an aisle from one direction, then turn around and shop that same aisle from the opposite direction. As with number one, you may see items you didn't see before because of your new perspective. Now, let's get thrifted. This is Last Thing Thrifted. I would like to thank my co-hosts, Jody, Monica, Annie, Shelly, Marika, and Zaina. You're going to find the links to their channels as well as this playlist loaded with a lot of other talented creators in my description box below. So at one of my many thrift shops that I happened to visit, I found this bag of eggs. White eggs, like farm eggs, and little tiny bird eggs, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them. I paid $2 for the entire bag, and I thought that was a pretty good deal. And I have plans for both eggs. We're going to start with this little white egg. You see the dent there? That tells me this thing is hollow. I first start by drilling a hole in the tippy top of my little white egg. This is going to designate where everything else stems from. I'm funny. I'm making a flower. Yes, I am. I am making a tulip. Now, if you just look at the shape of these little eggs, doesn't that say tulip? These tulips will be stylized and they will be layered. The first thing I'm going to do is draw out where my little petals are going to be. Each tulip will have 6 petals, 3 on the exterior and 3 layered on the interior. I need to know where I need to cut this, so I'm just drawing a little kind of haphazard line around the perimeter. Then I grab my handy-dandy coping saw and I cut that little tippity top off. After trimming the top off, I create my petals by using my shears to follow those lines that I drew out just a moment ago. I actually cut 2 little lines down the side so there's a gap. There's a little distinct space in between each of my petals. After I get my petals established, I curve the edges gently, and I also form a little notch in the center of each petal, just a tiny little notch to make it appear more petal-like. I continue working until I have 7 of my outer shells completed. Then I move on to the petals that I will layer on the inside of my tulip. I begin these inner petals the exact same way as I started my outer shell for my tulip, but instead of just cutting those little wedges in between each petal, I cut them all the way out. So I have individual petals that will be on the inside like this, but on the inside. And you will be able to see them, and it will look like they will slowly over time, just with the sunshine and the rain, just open up. So I continue to work until I have 3 petals for each of my 7 flowers, and that would give me 21 in total if I did my ciphering right. So I keep working and then we can move on to the next step. Now I am taking my outer shell and I am going to drill a hole in the bottom. This hole will serve 2 purposes. This will eventually become where I attach my stem, but for right now it is going to be a little place for me to put a pick so that I can hold on to my little tulip without actually touching it, because what we're going to do to it, I am going to use my dimensional paint to create a little bit of texture on my tulip. I think it's a little bit ironic that I'm using tulip paint to create a tulip. I normally use the slick, but on this occasion I'm using the puff paint. And as you see by its name, puff, it is a little bit thicker in consistency than the slick paint. So that being said, it does take longer to dry. I am creating little veins and little dimension all over my little tulips. I'm also going to be doing the same thing on my tulip petals. Not all of them, not near the bottom because you won't see that, but at the top they're definitely getting the same treatment as my tulip shells. Keep in mind, these are going to be stylized tulips. So they're not supposed to look like a real tulip, they're supposed to resemble a tulip. You're supposed to look at them and go, hey, that looks like a tulip. That's the goal. I get all of my 7 outer tulip shells complete, and then I move on to all of those little tiny inner petals. Once my little tulips are dry, it's time to paint. I am using a Hello Hobby chalk paint, and this color is called Tuscan Sun. It is a very, very luscious color. Luscious lemon. She's beautiful and makes you think of the sunshine. I absolutely love it. I am going to paint the inside and then the outside, and then I will do the 6 other little tulip shells that I've created. Then I will paint the inside and the outside of each of my individual tulip petals. Time to assemble. I am using 3-in-1 glue to make this happen. Because I created a space in between each of my petals, it gives me room to maneuver the new petal inside and place it so that I can glue it and hold it there until my glue sets up. Those outer petals are a little bit flexible. They will move one way or another, which made this process very easy. Each of the 3 petals are going inside offset, so I will center them where my little trough is, where the little cutout is. That inner petal will be centered on each one of those, so you have a layered look like a real flower. With the flower part of the tulip totally assembled, I am going back over them with the puff paint one last time to give them even more dimension. This is a ribbon, wired rope ribbon, and you can see how long I've had it. 2011. This is old. This is older than some of my grandkids. Oh my God. Oh, so this stuff has sparkles on it. And well, you know I got it on sale. You know I got it on deep clearance. Deep clearance. From the receipt that I found inside the bag. Evidently, I got it for 90% off. I guess when I say I keep everything, I really keep everything. So back to what I was saying. This stuff has sparkles on it, and we need to get rid of the sparkles. So after I cut a stem about the length I want it to be, leaving a little exposed wire at the top, I use some sandpaper to get rid of all of those sparkles. Then I'm going to give this thing a coat of Mod Podge to seal in whatever sparkles may be remaining. I cut 6 more, sand them, and Mod Podge them as well. Now my stems get some paint. Ooh, nice stems. Ooh, they are getting painted this gorgeous green. It is a plaid folk art matte basil green paint, and boy, is she pretty. And I'm gonna paint all of my stems this color. Once my tulips are totally assembled, the whole tulip, the flower and the stem will all get coated in the podge. And that's a matte Mod Podge as usual. I do want these to really look like tulips, so I am creating some stamen for inside my tulip, each and every one of them. The piece of wire that I left long will be 1, and then I will create 2 more for each of my tulips. I am just taking my wire cutters, my needle nose, and bending the tip of the wire so it has like a little loop on it, and then I cover it with hot glue. And then I'm going to paint them, and I'm going to paint them with a chalk paint, and this is a truffle brown, and it is a Waverly chalk paint. Once everything is dry, I will assemble the stamen, the tulip heads, and my stems all with 3-in-1 glue. I thrifted this cute little hat for a quata. Pretty good deal, huh? Really cute little straw hat. Well, I am going to revamp it just a bit for a good friend of mine that needs her wardrobe updated a little bit for spring. I'm going to add a couple grommets to either side, and then I'm going to run some really pretty ribbon through it. Using a small pair of scissors, I create a hole big enough for my one side of my grommet to go through, and then I am going to just hot glue it in place. I'm not going to use my grommet maker to kind of squash these down like you're supposed to. I am just gluing them because this hat is so thick. Once I get it through, then I will put the opposite side of the grommet on the inside of the hat to kind of seal it shut, also again with hot glue. Time out for thrifting. Look what I found. I found these two runners. Aren't they nice? Look at that. This one's a buck, and it is in great shape. This came from Hobby Lobby, was made in India, and she's gorgeous. And how much is she? Let's see. She is $2 for $3. I'm getting two fabulous runners to decorate with. Yay. Look at that. No thanks. Bye, unicorn. Bye. One last stop before I get back to work. I am checking out the spring flowers at a Walmart, and a lot of these blooms are really pretty. But then you have the leaves. They look like, nah. It doesn't look real. I want it to look real. So when I went around the corner and looked at the end cap and saw these lavender, oh my goodness, my heart stopped. These things are really, really pretty. They are gorgeous, and they're only $3.98 each. So I am going to buy a couple of them now, and next time I come back in, I'm going to grab a couple more. Now to do something with those pretty little bird eggs or Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, I am going to make some little baskets for these guys because spring is here and Easter is on its way. I'm going to be using some empty little tin cans, and I love using tin cans. I have used them in the past. I'll leave a link to this video in my description box, and I've got more plans for some more cans in the very, very near future. First, I clean these little cans up, then we address any sharp edges. If they appear to be a little sharp, I'm just taking my pliers and I'm pressing them flat. All baskets need a handle, and since this is like an aluminum can, I wanted some aluminum handles. I am using my pallet strapping, which I thrifted. Of course I did. I am using my tin snips to cut them. It makes it cut like a butter. I am bending each end up just a little bit to go over the rim of the can. These are going to be on the outside of the can because I am going to be putting food product in some of these. I got a couple of harebrained ideas while I was fiddling with these things. Since I'm using 3-in-1 glue on these, I didn't want any kind of glue product to be anywhere near anything that is going to be possibly consumed. So I 3-in-1 glue these on the outside, and then I clamp them there and let them dry. Well, my little baskets aren't much to write home about at this point. They need a little bit of something on here, so I'm going to put a little something on here. I am using some of my metal ribbon to spiffy these little things up a bit. Right now, I am creating kind of a belt buckle for the ribbon that will be going around the perimeter of my can. This is going to provide me with a way to close off both of my edges of my ribbon without having my seam visible, and it will also provide a way to keep it in place when I glue it. And this is the ribbon I'm going to be using on the larger cans. I have cut a small piece of the ribbon and I have bent the ends over to kind of fold over that piece of metal ribbon that will go around my can. And you can see how it is just forming right to it. And I will bend it shut and I will glue it shut. I will glue these in place on my can as well as clamping them until that glue sets up and becomes permanent. I am using the same process to create handles for my small cans. These handles will be glued on the inside because no food products will be put into these little baskets. I glue them and clamp them into place. This is the metal ribbon that I will use on the exterior of these little cans. Look how pretty. I thrifted these 4 little antique jars at Goodwill. It was blue tag, so they were only 49 cents each, and you will see shortly why I bought them. I also picked up this natural Excelsior moss. They're like wood chips. I don't know if you're familiar with this stuff, but it's pretty cool. It's very natural. And this is a beautiful shade of green. I will be using this in some of my baskets, and I will also be using this. The Excelsior cost me $1. This, I don't remember what it cost me. I bought it so long ago. This will also be going in some of my baskets. One last thrift trip for me before my week is complete. This little place is local and it's called Angel Treasures. And look what I found. Look at this. You know what that is? Do ya? It is a hand-blown antique Chianti bottle. Isn't that amazing? It is merely at $10 and I am picking it up. These things are worth some money and mine has labels. I'll be doing something special with it very soon. One last stop and then back to work. I scan the shelves as I come in and nothing but Easter. But then look what I found. No way. 2 in 1 week. No way. 2 in 1 week. This one isn't as near as pretty as my other one, but I can tell it probably has a round bottom as well. And for $5, I'm grabbing this one. My thrifted items have been flipped and incorporated into my decor. Let's take a look. Let's start with those little Easter eggs, bird eggs, whatever we're calling them, in their little basket. And there's the tiny tin can, that little cat food tin can that I saved from the recycle bin and turned into an Easter basket. It was so easy and it was relatively fast too. Just dry time for the glue. A little bit of strapping, metal strapping. You've got your metal ribbon, some Easter grass. This is that really fine paper Easter grass that I thrifted, which I prefer over the plastic, and a little bit of ribbon. How cute. You would never know those were cat food cans. I made 4 in all, but depending on your use of food and how much you get in cans, you could make any amount you wanted. Let's check out all the thrifted items on this table. The lantern, which I thrifted and then flipped. That beautiful little teapot, not the florals. I did get those on sale. My wrought aluminum, which I collect. Surprise, surprise. My dishes, and those chocolate bunnies. Basically, everything on this table was thrifted, even the table itself. Here you see the 2 sizes of baskets sitting side by side, so you can see the difference. And now comes into play those antique jars. They work perfect as lids. So if you put something edible in there, you can put a little lid on it and take it safely wherever you're gonna go. Now, here's what it looks like with a little bit of something inside those larger baskets. I have made those larger baskets into little Easter hors d'oeuvre baskets. I used mini carrots. I added parsley to the top for the carrot tops, and I have some grape tomatoes there because they look like the shape of Easter eggs. Below these lovely veggies is a dip. It is a French onion dip, and below the dip I have some lettuce, and below that, to line my little basket, is some parchment paper. If you intend to use the lids, just don't be as generous with your portions. Some time back, I made some bunny charger plates for spring and Easter, and I decided to make some of these little baskets to coordinate with those charger plates. The charger plates are hammered copper, and I will leave the link in the description box for those, as well as the lantern and other items that I have flipped in this video, so you can take a look at everything. But look how pretty those little copper baskets look with my copper chargers. And once again, everything on this table has been thrifted, with the exception of that lavender. You will even see I used my newly thrifted runner. Look how gorgeous that looks. It is in amazing condition. I even thrifted these plates. These plates were Better Homes and Gardens, and the picture and the bunny plate behind, those are Portuguese ceramic, and I absolutely love them. I collect those as well. Surprise! Let's check in on our tulips and that little straw hat. For the moment, they are just laying on the table because Dottie just finished picking them. Dottie has her brand new hat on, her little gardening hat, and she's ready to hop around outside this spring. She has had a wardrobe change. I created Dottie in a recent video, and I'll leave that link in the description box. She has started to arrange her beautiful tulips in this antique basket. It's a metal basket made for a certain specific kind of situation, but I figure let's make it happy. Let's make it happy with beautiful yellow tulips. Dottie thinks so. She really likes the way they came out. You can see the dimension that puff paint added to each and every one of those tulips, and you can see the dimension with the inner petals and the stamen. That wired rope ribbon made perfect stems for my luscious yellow little tulips. So happy with the outcome of this very simple project. I would like to make some more of these tulips, and maybe in different colors. Just goes to show you, an egg isn't necessarily an egg. It can be many things if you look at it in a different light. You've been watching The Last Thing Thrifted, our very first open collab. I'd like to thank my co-hosts again, Jody, Monica, Annie, Shelly, Marika, and Zaina. You're going to find the links to this playlist chock full of amazing creators and their channels in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends and anyone that likes thrifting, repurposing, DIYs, Easter, spring, shabby chic, rustic, and French country decor. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. Don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.